Thanksgiving dinner. My son stood up in front of everyone and stated, "Stop acting so proud, Mom. You didn't pay for anything. I did." The entire table fell silent. 32 years of sacrifice erased in a single sentence. My name is Linda, and I am here to share what transpired when my son attempted to rewrite history. Before I delve into the details, please share in the comments where you are watching from. I would love to know who is with me today. The events began 3 weeks prior to Thanksgiving when my son, Daniel, called to express his desire to host this year's dinner. Recently promoted at his tech company, he wanted to showcase his new home. I was thrilled. My son, all grown up, wanting to bring the family together. I should have sensed something was amiss when he insisted that I need not bring anything. "Just bring yourself, Mom," he said. "I've got everything covered." I arrived early to assist with the preparations. The house was stunning, 4 bedrooms, granite countertops, and a stylish kitchen island. Daniel's wife, Ashley, was arranging flowers, and their 2 children were dressed in designer outfits. Everything appeared perfect, almost too perfect. "Wow, honey," I said, embracing Daniel. "You've truly done well for yourself." He smiled, but there was an unusual look in his eyes. "Yes, well, some of us work hard for what we have," he replied. I chose to overlook it, assuming he was simply stressed about hosting. Guests began to arrive, including my daughter, Michelle, with her husband and children, along with Daniel's father-in-law, Robert, a retired banker, who arrived in a 3-piece suit. Ashley's sister brought her new boyfriend, totaling 14 people gathered around a massive dining table that likely cost more than my first car. Daniel had gone all out with the meal: turkey, ham, 3 types of potatoes, homemade rolls, and pies from an upscale bakery downtown. He frequently pointed out the costs, mentioning the turkey was ordered from a special farm and the wine was imported. "I must have spent 3 grand on this meal alone," he announced while pouring champagne. Everyone murmured in agreement, but I felt a knot forming in my stomach. Then came the toasts. Michelle went first, expressing gratitude to Daniel for hosting, followed by Robert, who spoke about family traditions. When it was my turn, I stood up and simply stated how proud I was of the man Daniel had become. Watching him build this beautiful life filled my heart. That's when he interrupted. "Mom, I appreciate the sentiment, but let's be real here. Stop acting so proud as if you had anything to do with this. You didn't pay for anything. I did. I paid for college, my MBA, and this house. All of it." The entire table froze. Forks halted midair. Ashley's face turned pale and Michelle's mouth dropped open. I felt as though I had been slapped. 14 pairs of eyes turned to me, and I realized that I was perceived as a burden who had taken credit for someone else's achievements. My hands began to shake, and I stood there, speechless. Daniel continued, "Let's be honest. You worked at a bank as a teller, right? How much could you have possibly saved? I had taken out loans and worked 3 jobs during college to build my credit. Everything you see here," he gestured around the dining room, "I earned myself." Ashley touched his arm, suggesting, "Daniel, maybe we should," but he insisted, "No, it needs to be said." He looked at me with a cold expression I had never seen before. Mom always talks about sacrifice, but what did she actually sacrifice? She had a regular job and a regular life. I'm the one who sacrificed sleep, social life, everything to get where I am. Robert nodded slowly, saying, "Self-made individuals are the backbone of this country. Good for you, Daniel, for being honest about your accomplishments." I wanted to scream, to flip that expensive table, but instead, I stood there trembling while my son erased 3 decades of my life. Finally, Michelle spoke up. "Danny, that's not fair." "Stay out of this, Michelle," Daniel snapped. "You always take her side." "There are no sides," I managed to whisper. "I was simply expressing my pride in you." "Well, save it," Daniel retorted, sitting back down. "I don't need false pride from someone who thinks showing up is the same as providing." The dinner continued in an uncomfortable silence. I pushed food around my plate, unable to swallow. Occasionally, someone attempted to initiate a conversation, but it quickly fizzled out. The children sensed the tension and fell silent. Even the expensive imported wine tasted like ash. I noticed Ashley's sister whispering to her boyfriend while glancing at me. Michelle kept trying to catch my eye, but I couldn't look at her. I felt humiliated, small, and invisible. After dinner, while Daniel was in the kitchen handling a work emergency, Michelle confronted me in the hallway. Mom, what he said was horrible. Why didn't you defend yourself? What was I supposed to say? I asked, my voice breaking. Call him a liar in front of everyone and ruin Thanksgiving? He already ruined it, Michelle said, tears of anger in her eyes. Mom, you work double shifts. You sold your car. You don't. I interrupted. Please, I just want to go home. I bid farewell to the children, grabbed my coat, and left. Daniel was still on his phone and waved casually, as if nothing had transpired. The drive home took 20 minutes. I returned to the same small two-bedroom house I had purchased 30 years ago, which needed painting and had a leaking roof. My car was 12 years old, but it was mine, paid off, with no debt. I sat in my driveway for an hour, unable to go inside. The house felt too quiet, too empty, and a stark reminder that Daniel's words rang true. I had not accomplished anything worth being proud of. That night, I struggled to sleep, replaying the moment over and over in my mind. The look on Daniel's face, the way everyone stared at me, and Robert's approving nod. The word burden echoed in my head. At 3 a.m., I got up and made tea, my hands still trembling. I found myself walking to the closet in my bedroom, the one I had not opened in years. In the back, behind old winter coats, was a cardboard box. I pulled it out and sat on the floor. Inside were the records I had kept, not because I intended to use them, but because I couldn't bring myself to discard them. Bank statements from 2006 showed the $47,000 I had withdrawn from my retirement account, along with a warning from the bank officer that it represented my entire savings. My signature at the bottom was steady and assured. There were tuition payment receipts from Northwestern University, 4 years, $52,000 per year. I had covered the first 2 years entirely. The loans Daniel mentioned began in junior year after I had exhausted my savings. Credit card statements revealed the debt I had accrued after my retirement funds ran out, $23,000, which took me 9 years to repay. I found a letter from my landlord dated 2007, indicating my move from a two-bedroom apartment to a studio to save $600 a month. I told Daniel I wanted to downsize, but didn't mention I was eating rice and beans for dinner to send him money. Payment confirmations for his MBA program totaled $78,000. I had paid $40,000 before my credit finally collapsed. Letters from 3 banks denied my loan applications. My credit score had plummeted to 580. There was a notice from my job regarding a promotion to weekend shifts that paid an extra $3.50 an hour. I worked Saturday and Sunday mornings for 4 years, missing every family gathering. Daniel thought I enjoyed working weekends. At the bottom of the box was the title to my old car, the Honda I had purchased new in 1999 and sold in 2010 for $3,200. That money funded Daniel's unpaid summer internship in New York, which he claimed he could not afford. I told him I found a good deal on a used car and didn't mention I was taking the bus. Surrounded by papers and proof, I felt the weight of the truth Daniel had denied in front of everyone. I was not angry. I was too exhausted for that. I was overwhelmed with sadness, realizing my son genuinely believed his own narrative. He had rewritten history in his mind, casting himself as the hero and me as nothing. The tea grew cold beside me as the sun began to rise. I carefully returned everything to the box and placed it back in the closet behind the coats. What was I going to do? Show up at his door with receipts? Force him to acknowledge my sacrifices? No, I closed the closet door. Some things, I thought, one must simply let go. I was wrong about that. On Friday morning, Michelle called. Mom, are you okay? I've been worried sick. I'm fine, honey. You're not fine. What Daniel said was unforgivable. I sighed. He believes what he said, Michelle. That's the difficult part. He's not lying. He just doesn't know the truth. Then tell him. Tell him what? That I spent my retirement on his education? That I worked weekends for 4 years? That I went into debt so he could have opportunities? My voice cracked. What good would it do now? Michelle paused. You're too good, Mom. Too forgiving. I'm just tired. We spoke for a few more minutes before she had to leave. After we hung up, I attempted to go about my day, cleaning the house, doing laundry, making a grocery list, normal activities. Yet nothing felt normal. On Saturday, I encountered my neighbor Patricia, who had known Daniel since he was 8. How was Thanksgiving? She inquired while watering her roses. It was nice, I lied. Daniel is still doing well at that tech company. Very well. He just got promoted. Patricia smiled. You must be so proud. You raised a good one, Linda. All those years you worked so hard to put him through school. It paid off. I excused myself and went inside to cry in the bathroom. On Sunday, Daniel posted photos from Thanksgiving on social media. His beautiful house, the lavish meal, his perfect family. The caption read, "Grateful for everything I've built. Hard work pays off to my dear self-made blessed." 200 people liked it, and 50 comments praised him with no mention of anyone else. Neither his wife nor his children, certainly not me. On Monday, I returned to work. I still worked at the bank, having moved up from teller to loan officer 15 years ago. Nothing glamorous, but it was steady work that helped people and paid the bills. How was your holiday? My coworker Janet asked. Fine, I replied, but she looked at me closely. You don't look fine. I nearly confided in her, almost broke down right there in the break room. But what would I say? That my son is ashamed of me? That he thinks I am a nobody? On Tuesday, I resolved to stop dwelling on it. Life goes on. Perhaps Michelle was right. Perhaps I was too forgiving. But I was 67 years old and lacked the energy for drama. Daniel had his life. I had mine. On Wednesday morning, while making coffee, my phone rang, an unknown number. Hello, Mom. It was Daniel. His voice sounded different, tense, anxious. Hi, I need to talk to you about something. My heart sank. Was he finally calling to apologize? The payment for my car is due in 2 days, $5,000. My bonus got delayed, and Ashley's parents cut us off after some disagreement. I'm short. I stood there with the coffee pot in hand, waiting. I need you to loan me the money, just until my bonus comes through next month. I promise I'll pay you back. The coffee pot felt heavy. The kitchen felt small. The entire world felt different suddenly. Please, Mom, I really need this. I set the coffee pot down slowly. Let me ensure I understand, I said carefully. You need $5,000 for your car payment. Yes, look, I know the timing is awkward after Thanksgiving, but this is business. This is different. The words hung in the air. And you're asking me because? Because you're my mother, he stated, as if it were self-evident. Like 4 days ago, you hadn't just announced to everyone that I had never done anything for you? I see. So can you help? I asked. I need to know today so I can figure something out if you can't. Something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger exactly. It was clarity. Daniel, when you say you'll pay me back next month, how exactly would that work? Would you transfer it to my account? Write a check? Yeah, either way, whatever works. He sounded impatient now. Mom, I really don't have time for logistics. I just need to know if you can do it. Can I do it? I repeated. That's an interesting phrasing. What? Nothing. Tell me something. This car, what kind is it? It's a BMW X5. Why does that matter? And the payment is $5,000. It's a luxury vehicle, Mom. Image matters in my industry. I walked to my window and looked out at my 12-year-old Honda, the one I had bought used after selling my good car to fund his New York internship. Here's what I'm wondering, Daniel. If I didn't pay for anything, if I never contributed to your success, why are you calling me now? Silence. Mom, that's not. Thanksgiving was just, I was being honest about my accomplishments. Is it? Yes. Look, if you can't help, just say so. I'll call someone else. Who? What? Who else are you going to call? Ashley's parents cut you off. Your father hasn't been in the picture for 20 years. Michelle is paying off her own student loans. So who, Daniel? Who else is there? His voice grew defensive. I have friends, colleagues, I'm well connected. Then why did you call me first? More silence, longer this time. Because you're my mother, and I thought you'd want to help me, he finally said, and there was something unpleasant in his tone, a sense of entitlement. Right. I'm your mother, the one who worked a regular job, had a regular life, and apparently never sacrificed anything. Are we really going to do this right now? I apologized for Thanksgiving. No, Daniel, you didn't. You haven't said one word to me since I left your house. Fine. I'm sorry if you were offended, but I really need. If I was offended, I almost laughed. You humiliated me in front of our entire family. You erased everything I did for you, and now you want $5,000? I said I'd pay you back. Like you paid me back for college, for your MBA, for the car I sold so you could take that internship? Complete silence now. What are you talking about? And that's when I realized he genuinely didn't know. He didn't remember. He had created an entirely different narrative in his mind. Daniel, I said quietly, do you remember your sophomore year at Northwestern? What does that have to do with anything? Do you remember how much tuition was? I don't know, like 40, 50 grand. Mom, I really don't have time. $52,000 per year. Okay, and I took out loans. When did those loans start, Daniel? Silence. They started junior year, fall of 2008. Want to know why, Mom? Because that's when I ran out of money. I paid for your first 2 years entirely, $14,000 from my retirement account, the one I had been building since I was 25. I heard him breathing on the other end, nothing else. You told everyone about your 3 jobs in college. Do you remember what those jobs were? I worked at the library and did IT support. You worked 6 hours a week at the library. That's one job, and it paid for your books. You did IT support for your dorm 3 hours a week, and they gave you a free housing upgrade for it. What was the third job, Daniel? No answer. There wasn't one. You worked 9 hours a week total. You know how I know? Because you called me every Sunday and told me everything. You told me about your study groups, your parties, and your spring break trips. You never mentioned struggling. You never mentioned 3 jobs. I must have forgotten about your MBA, Daniel. 78,000. You remember taking out loans for that? Yes, I paid for my own education. You took out $38,000 in loans. I paid $40,000. Want to see the bank statements? His breathing quickened. The apartment you lived in during business school, the nice one near campus that cost $800 a month, I paid 12 months of rent. That's $21,600. You told your roommates your trust fund covered it. I never said. Your roommate Marcus came up to me at your graduation and thanked me for raising such a self-sufficient kid who never asked his parents for money. I smiled and said, "You're welcome." Do you remember that conversation? Silence. If you're with me on this journey, hit that subscribe button. I want to know you're here. The car you're calling about, the one you need $5,000 for, what happened to your first car? I sold it when I upgraded. I bought you that first car, a used Camry, for $8,000. You sold it for $3,000 and put it toward the BMW down payment. So technically, I helped buy the car you're asking me to save. Now I heard something that might have been a breath or perhaps a word he couldn't finish. Your wedding. Ashley wanted that venue in Napa. Remember how the deposit was $15,000 and her parents could only cover half? Stop. I paid the other half. Told you I had been saving. I had been saving to repair my roof. It still leaks when it rains hard. Mom, please stop. But I couldn't stop. 32 years of silence was breaking open. When you got that internship in New York, the unpaid one you said launched your whole career, do you remember being worried you couldn't afford to take it? I figured it out, he whispered. I sold my car, Daniel. My Honda that I bought new. The only new car I ever owned. I sold it for $3,200 and sent you the money. I told you I wanted to try using public transportation for environmental reasons. You didn't have to do that. You're right. I didn't. Just like I didn't have to work weekend shifts for 4 years to send you extra money, or move into a studio apartment to afford your tuition, or put $23,000 on credit cards that took me 9 years to pay off. Why are you doing this? His voice cracked. Why are you throwing all this in my face now? I'm not throwing it in your face. I'm answering your question. What question? You asked me to loan you $5,000. I'm explaining why that's complicated. Because you want to punish me for what I said on Thanksgiving. I laughed. Actually laughed. No, Daniel, because I don't have $5,000. Silence. Then what? I have about $1,200 in my checking account and another $800 in savings. My retirement account has $34,000 in it, but if I touch that before I'm 70, I lose 30% to penalties. But you work at a bank. You've been working for 37 years. I'm a loan officer. I make $52,000 a year. Do you know what I've spent that money on? Living, eating, keeping a roof over my head. And every single time you needed something, every time over the past 30 years, I found a way to say yes. I could hear him processing this, could almost visualize his face, the expression it must hold right now. Your daughter's private kindergarten last year, the one that costs $2,000 a month. You called me in a panic because Ashley's parents refused to pay it. I put it on a credit card. I'm still paying it off. I thought you said you had savings. I lied. Daniel, I've been lying for years because every time you called, you sounded so desperate, so stressed, and I thought this is what mothers do. We find a way. Oh God, his voice was barely audible. That promotion you got last month, the one you celebrated by buying the Rolex, I was so happy for you. I called to congratulate you. You talked for 40 minutes about your success, your hard work, your sacrifices. You never asked how I was doing. Mom, I wanted to tell you. I wanted to say I was scared because my roof was leaking and I didn't know how to pay for it. But you sounded so happy, so proud. I didn't want to burden you. Please stop saying that word. Why? It's what I am, right? What you said I was, a burden who never contributed anything. I didn't mean it like that, Daniel said, but his voice was hollow. How did you mean it then? When you stood up at Thanksgiving and told everyone I didn't pay for anything, what exactly did you mean? I worked so hard, Mom. I wanted credit for what I accomplished. And you deserve that credit, Daniel. You did work hard. You built an incredible career, but you didn't do it alone. Nobody does. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because that's not how it works. You don't keep receipts on your children. You don't make them owe you. I wanted you to feel confident and capable, like you could conquer the world. Mission accomplished, I guess. I had no idea, he said earnestly. I swear to God, Mom, I had no idea. I know. That's what makes it so painful. You rewrote the story so completely that you genuinely believed it. And perhaps that's my fault. Maybe I should have been honest instead of protecting your pride. He was crying now. I could hear it. What have I done? What have I done? You told your truth as you understood it. The issue is you never asked about mine. How do I fix this? Tell me how to fix this. I glanced around my small kitchen, the water stain on the ceiling from the leak, my 12-year-old coffee maker, the calendar on the wall with my work schedule marked in pencil. I can't loan you the $5,000, Daniel. I don't have it. I'm not asking anymore. I don't want it. I'll figure something else out. You should call a credit union. Their rates are better than most banks. Mom, please. I don't care about the car. I care about what I said at Thanksgiving. Oh God, what must they think? Robert thinks you're a self-made man. That's what you wanted, isn't it? No, that's not it. I was trying to impress him. Ashley's family is always going on about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and I just wanted to seem like I belonged. So you erased me. Silence hung between us, long and painful. I'm so sorry, he finally whispered. I'm so sorry. I know you are. What can I do? How can I make this right? I pondered the box in my closet, filled with all that proof. I could demand he look at every receipt, every bank statement, and confront him with it all. But what would that achieve? You can start by being honest, Daniel, with yourself, with Ashley, with your kids. When they ask you how you got where you are, tell them the whole truth, not just the parts that make you look good. Okay, yes, I will. And Daniel, I added, the next time someone helps you, acknowledge it. The next time someone sacrifices for you, recognize it. Because 30 years from now, your kids might be standing in their expensive houses telling their families they did it all alone. He made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. I deserved that. You deserved honesty a long time ago. We both did. We sat there in silence, connected by phone, blood, and 3 decades of complicated love. Mom, I want to make this right. I need to make this right. Then start by fixing what you broke at Thanksgiving. Those people heard you erase me. They need to hear the truth. I'll call everyone. I'll explain. Not on the phone, Daniel. Face to face at your house this weekend. Okay. Yes, Saturday. After we hung up, I sat still. My hands no longer trembled and my chest didn't ache. Something had shifted, not fixed. You don't repair 30 years in one conversation. But shifted. On Friday evening, Michelle called. Mom, Daniel called me. He was sobbing. What happened? I inquired, eager to hear. I told her everything, the whole conversation. Holy, Mom, you actually did it. You stood up for yourself. Language, Michelle. I'm 38 years old. You're still my daughter." She laughed. "He wants to have everyone over tomorrow. He says he has something important to say. Did you know about this?" "I know." "Are you going?" "Yes." "Good. I'll be there too. Someone needs to have your back." On Saturday morning, I donned my best dress. It was 15 years old but well kept, and applied my makeup carefully. I drove to Daniel's house in my old Honda. The same cars from Thanksgiving filled the driveway. Michelle's minivan, Robert's Lexus, Ashley's sister's vehicle. My stomach knotted. Daniel answered the door, his eyes red from crying. "Mom, thank you for coming." He led me into the living room, where everyone sat on expensive furniture, looking confused. They had been informed that this was important, but not why. Ashley stood when she saw me. "Linda, I'm so glad you're here." Michelle was already there next to her husband, offering me a small smile. Daniel waited until everyone settled before standing in front of the fireplace, the same spot he had occupied during his Thanksgiving speech. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice trembling. "I asked you here because I need to correct something I said last week. Something terrible." Robert shifted in his seat, and Ashley's sister leaned in closer. "Last Thursday, I stood in this room and told you all that my mother never paid for anything, that I built everything myself. That was a lie." The room fell utterly still. Not a lie in the sense that I meant to deceive you. I genuinely believed what I was saying, but I was wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. He turned to me, tears welling in his eyes. "Mom didn't just pay for some things. She paid for almost everything. My education, my first 2 years of college from her retirement savings, $40,000 of my MBA, my apartment during business school, my first car, my wedding deposit, my daughter's kindergarten. She worked weekend shifts for 4 years. She sold her car. She went into debt." Daniel's voice faltered, but he pressed on. "She did all of this without telling me, without keeping score, without making me feel like I owed her. She let me believe I was self-made because she wanted me to feel confident. And how did I repay that? By standing here on Thanksgiving and humiliating her in front of all of you." Ashley had her hand over her mouth. Michelle was quietly crying, and Robert looked as though he had been slapped. "I called her 3 days ago asking for $5,000 after everything I said, after erasing her sacrifice. And you know what she told me?" He glanced around the room. "She told me she didn't have it because she spent her retirement on me. She's still paying off credit cards she used to help me. She has a leaking roof she can't afford to fix." "I'm not telling you this to make excuses," Daniel continued, "but I'm sharing this because you all sat here and watched me diminish my mother. Some of you," he directed his gaze at Robert, "praised me for being self-made, for being honest about my accomplishments." Robert stood up. "Daniel, I had no idea." "How could you?" Daniel replied. "I didn't know, but I should have. I should have asked. I should have questioned my own narrative." He turned fully to me. "Mom, I can't give you back the years you spent in a studio apartment. I can't return the car you sold. I can't erase the debt or restore your retirement account. But I can give you this." He pulled out his phone and pressed a few buttons. "I just transferred $50,000 to your account. It's not enough. It will never be enough, but it's a start." "Daniel," I began to protest. "Please, please let me do this. The BMW is going back to the dealer on Monday. We're refinancing this house to something we can actually afford without help. We will live within our means from now on. And every month, I'm going to send you money until I've paid back every dollar you spent on me." "That's not necessary." "It's absolutely necessary." He looked around the room once more. "I wanted you all to know the truth. I wanted my kids," he gestured to his children sitting quietly with Ashley, "to understand where we really came from, not just from my hard work alone, but from my mother's sacrifice." He approached me, kneeling in front of my chair. "I'm so sorry, Mom." I placed my hand on his head as I once did when he was small. "I forgive you," I said simply. The room was silent, except for the sound of Daniel crying against my knees. Later, after everyone left, after the tears, the apologies, and the promises, I drove home in my old Honda. My phone pinged with a bank notification. The transfer had gone through. I pulled into my driveway and sat there as I had a week ago. But this time was different. This time I wasn't invisible. This time, the truth had been spoken. This time, my son saw me, and that was worth more than any dollar amount could ever be. Please subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video with love and respect.